I'm just going to wait a second because this thing gets a little slow. And forgive my raspy voice. So glad to be back home. Really glad to be back home. Had a great week. Dark to Light podcast came out on time today. All ready to go. Anyone around? Let's see you in the chat. Give me a hello out there. All right, cool. This video is brought to you by the amazing Trump Coin. They are a sponsor of my work, and I'm very glad to have them on board. When they made the first 2020 Freedom Coin, which is absolutely stunning, they didn't have any idea how successful the coin would be, how much interest there would be, etc. But 3 years later, they are doing really, really well. They've sold so many. They made a second pressing, and they're now releasing this beautiful Commander-in-Chief design to the world. And it is struck from an ounce of real fine solid silver. It is handcrafted in America. It is absolutely stunning. And the contrast between this flag and President Trump in front of it is just absolutely beautiful. You can put this anywhere. You can put it on your desk like I have mine. You can put it in a cabinet. You can put it on a shelf. You guys can buy it for a gift for someone else. It's truly gorgeous. Like I'm really not just saying that. It's a beautiful, beautiful coin. Beautiful coin. So you guys can go to TrumpCoin2020.com, use the code Tracy and then a space Beanz. That's Tracy space Beanz, and you can get a $5 off discount on this gorgeous coin. It is a little under $50, so for $45 you can have this stunning coin in your collection. Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you to our sponsor, TrumpCoin2020.com, code Tracy space Beanz. Okay. I wanted to get into something today, and maybe I'll just share this on Twitter really quickly so that other people can see it. Rewind. Awesome. Retweet that. Cool. All right. So we have the FISA report apparently or allegedly coming out on Friday, right? Maria Bartiromo said that this would be released. And so I touched on this for a good segment on the podcast today in a little bit of detail too. But I want to get into some intricacies here with you guys. And I know I'm triggering everyone out there, you guys. I want to get into some details with this. And it all goes back to just understanding why it is that they needed to get the FISA warrant on Carter Page to be able to continue what they do. And so I wanted to just do a brief overview of how that happened and show you some work that I've done over the past year to give everybody a kind of refresher course on how we got here before we get to Friday. Now, obviously, it would be impossible to do that for the whole story, but this little piece will probably help folks. So the Department of Justice IG announced on March 28th, 2018 that they were beginning this FISA review. And here we see the letter for immediate release that IG Horowitz announced that in response to requests from the AG and Congress, the Office of Inspector General will initiate a review that will examine the Justice Department and FBI's compliance with legal requirements and with applicable DOJ and FBI policies and procedures in applications filed with the U.S. FISC, the FISA court, relating to a certain U.S. person. As part of the exam, the IG will also review information that was known to the DOJ and the FBI at the time the applications were filed from or about an alleged FBI confidential source, which is Christopher Steele. Additionally, the IG will review the DOJ and FBI's relationship and communications with the alleged source as they relate to the FISC applications. If circumstances warrant, the IG will consider including other issues that may arise during the course of the review. That's how it all started. So the IG begins the work, goes through the process, is talking to FBI, is talking and interviewing to whoever they can. And again, just to give you guys a distinction, the IG does not have prosecutorial power, which means they cannot arrest anyone. They can't force anyone to testify outside of the government. They can refer for criminal prosecution. They can work parallel to U.S. attorney and things of that nature. Excuse me. So this is where it started, but if you go back a couple years, you'll remember that in 2017 in April, there was a report that came out from the FISA court, an opinion that there was widespread abuse of the 702 database. And the 702 database is a database where you can query through the NSA to get all kinds of information on anybody that you put your name in there for. One of the things that we suspect may have been a result of the NSA queries was the information in Christopher Steele's dossier that said that Michael Cohen had gone to Prague. Because if somebody was querying this database with the name Michael Cohen and saw that there was a Michael Cohen that had gone to Prague, they would just assume that it was that Michael Cohen. Big mistake. Pass that information along, and then Christopher Steele includes it in the dossier, and there's Michael Cohen in Prague. Unfortunately for them, Christopher Steele was wrong, and Michael Cohen never went to Prague. Or, if you've been with me for a very long time, Prague. I'm going to take a sip of tea. Hold on. So, the 702 database is very, very powerful. So initially, this is how it is alleged, and we'll find out a lot more, that the information was being farmed for this illegal spying operation against a candidate for president in the United States of America. And then once Admiral Mike Rogers realized that there was this abuse going on, he waved the red flag and said, hold on a second. He was a whistleblower. You want to talk about freaking whistleblowers? He was a whistleblower. So one of the things that stopped then was he halted all 702 queries. So none of these contractors, the FBI, nobody could use the database to do any queries or anything. And when that happened, there was an escalation. It went to review. The FISA court looked it over. And you've noticed over the past couple of weeks, you've seen reports coming out in the news as though it's new that there was this expose of, what happened and what was being abused from the FISA court. Well, that actually came out in April of 2017, that report. It was hundreds of pages long. So this stuff coming out now as though it's new news is not a negative thing. It's a positive thing because most people aren't aware of this report from 2017. And off we go. So in January of this year, probably I guess it would be about 7 or 8 months after OIG Horowitz has been in depth doing his review, we got a summary report that came out. And what a summary report is basically just a one-pager that explains something that the IG has found and a conclusion without the big beefy report behind it like we're going to see hopefully this Friday. So what that means is they write a one-pager. These are typically the reports that you see the IG release where it says the Justice Department declined to prosecute, and we all get collectively outraged over the fact that we've got leakers and we've got people accepting bribes, and it doesn't seem as though anyone's held accountable. Usually the last line of those says, usually the last line says that this matter was referred to the DOJ for criminal prosecution, and the DOJ declined to prosecute, right? Well, we got a summary report, and I wrote a piece on this January 31st, 2019. This was what the summary report said, and I'm going to go over it again because I feel like it's super poignant in leading up to Friday, okay? It said this. This was released again on January 29th, 2019. Confused the heck out of a whole lot of people. Very, very, very confusing report. But it says, the DOJ Office of Inspector General initiated this investigation upon the receipt of information from the FBI concerning multiple allegations involving an FBI contractor and 3 FBI officials. So this is a contractor brought on by the FBI who was found to be in violation of the rules that are put in place for this. So it says, the OIG found that as a result of conduct at the time by 2 current senior FBI officials and 1 retired FBI official, the FBI contractor engaged in certain inherent governmental activities in contravention of the Federal Acquisition Regulations, FAR. Additionally, the OIG found that these 3 FBI officials did not adhere to OMB policy while managing the contractor. Further, the OIG found that the FBI contractor failed to adhere to personal conflict of interest rules under the FAR. Now, nobody really understood this stuff. So I didn't understand it either. I spent a lot of time researching what are the federal acquisition regulations, what is an inherent governmental activity, and I was able to come up with a whole bunch of information and kind of put a story together, and I'm going to go through the article that I did back then, which is on uncoverdc.com from January 31st of 2019. I wanted to give a special thank you to Jeff Carlson, who has done absolutely stunning work on the 702 database abuse, the FISA abuse, etc. And I also made a correction, so I had updated the article to let everyone know that I had made a correction. So we know that the Office of Inspector General is currently investigating abuses of the FISA process. And if you think back to the OIG review of the mid-year exam, during the course of that investigation, there were inconsistencies during testimony there from many employees. And that's what led them to actually investigate Andrew McCabe for leaks to the media regarding internal FBI investigations like the Clinton Foundation, etc. And Michael Horowitz released the spin-off report of that at that time. I believe that that's what happened here as well, that the IG was talking to FBI and they found this, what we're going to go into right now, in that course of the investigation. So first, the IG states in that summary report that as a result of conduct, the FBI contractor engaged in inherent governmental activity. Well, what is an inherent governmental activity? As per the OMB, in clarifying those rules, an inherent governmental activity is defined as the direction and control of an intelligence or counterintelligence operation. In other words, the only people that can do those investigations are the FBI or the DOJ. You cannot farm out a counterintelligence operation to a government contractor. As Jeff Carlson reported on, listen to the dates here, it's very important. And I'm gonna roll it all together, okay? On April 18th, 2016, Admiral Rogers shut down all of the outside contractor access to raw FISA, specifically outside contractors working for the FBI. The discovery that these outside contractors were accessing this raw FISA data is probably the event that precipitated Admiral Rogers ordering a full compliance review, which is what we got in April of 2017. And it's revealed throughout the investigation and in this report issued in April that outside agencies, specifically the FBI Counterintelligence Division, were routinely violating the procedure here. So as Jeff Carlson reported in his detailed article, which is linked in here, the head of the FBI Counterintelligence Division at the time was Bill Priestat, who was retiring. So here's a little timeline we're going to talk about. On October 15th, 2016, George Carlin formerly left the NSD. On October 20th, 2016, Rogers was briefed by the NSA compliance officer on findings from the audit. The audit had uncovered numerous about query violations, and this came from Senate testimony. On October 21st, 2016, Rogers shut down all about query activity. He reported his findings to the DOJ. On October 21st, that same day, the DOJ and FBI seek and receive a Title I FISA probable cause order authorizing electronic surveillance on Carter Page from the FISA court. At this point in time, the court is unaware that there were any violations. So Admiral Rogers halts the 702 about queries. People can't get their dirty information anymore. What do? That very same day, they put in a FISA warrant application and they receive the Title I FISA probable cause order. Taking another sip of tea. So then I started thinking, who in the heck could the contractor be? Well, who's the first contractor that you could come in? Fusion GPS, right? Listen, I don't have the proof of this, like hard evidence. There's not been the documents released yet. We haven't personally seen the bank accounts, but I'm going to explain how I have come to this conclusion and why. I think that this government contractor, or at least one of them, that was abusing the 702 database was Fusion GPS, running Nellie Orr, running Christopher Steele, Glenn Simpson. I started reading Dan Bongino's book, Exonerated, on my way home. I would suggest you pick it up. It's really interesting. So, although it hasn't been publicly reported yet, it has long been speculated that Fusion GPS was a government contractor. There was significant legal pushback from Fusion GPS against Devin Nunes when he was the House Intelligence Committee, I believe it was the chair, which subpoenaed the bank records of Fusion GPS to take a look at them. After a decision on January 4th, 2018, Judge Leone, who was one of the friendlies, ruled that Fusion's bank has to turn over the financial records that were subpoenaed by the House Intelligence Committee in the Fusion GPS debacle, and they were provided. Steele was a paid contractor with Fusion GPS, was also a paid confidential informant for the FBI. We have gone over multiple times on this channel how they thought that Christopher Steele was going to be Christopher Steele thought he was going to be an employee of the FBI. That's after all of this. In the Judicial Watch release of the 302s, we saw that. And we also learned that Nellie Orr handed her husband a thumb drive with her research so that he could provide it to the FBI. And that's why I think the conflict of interest comes in, because Nellie Orr, in addition to working for the CIA, was also working for Fusion GPS, while her husband, Bruce Orr, who was Christopher Steele's handler, was funneling the information she provided him into the FBI as an independent stream, on top of the multiple other ways that this information was being loitered into the FBI. Sorry, I was coughing. So that's why I think that there was this. Further, the OIG found that the FBI contractor failed to adhere to personal conflict of interest rules. I think that was Nellie Orr. Who are the FBI employees? I don't want to speculate on that anymore because I'm not really sure. I had my speculation in here. It was met with mixed reviews. I really don't know that I'm right. But this is literally just my speculative thought of who it could be. I thought maybe it could be Andrew McCabe. I don't know. I don't know. So I didn't stop there. One of the other things that confirms this for me was if you go to Pacer and you look back at the testimony and stuff in these court hearings, after a certain amount of time, the transcripts are available on Pacer for you to read. And can anyone hear me? I just want to check because people are saying the audio's not working. Just hit a 1 if you can hear me, okay? Real quick. Hit a 1 if you can hear me. Sorry to pause the video for this. Okay, very good. Okay, good. Sorry, guys, about that. So I kept digging, and on February 11th, about a week later, I was able to take a look at a transcript from the court hearing where the the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence did I guess they subpoenaed bank records. Fusion GPS did not want to provide the bank records. And Fusion GPS was making the argument that if all you want to see is how much we paid Christopher Steele, then I will present you, the Christopher Steele portions of our bank records, but there's no reason for you to see the rest. What was interesting in there, though, is that there was more. And what the government said was substantial. I'm going to try and zoom this in. I don't know if you guys can see this. Mr. Hunger, who's an attorney for the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence, said, Mr. Taylor was also suggesting that the dossier is the only thing the committee is interested in. The committee is seeking to determine whether there are any connections between Fusion and the intelligence community, which is part of what this information would be designed to obtain. What that means is they're looking to see if Fusion GPS was a contractor. And we know they got those bank records. I am not sure if they were paid as a contractor or not, or under the table or lawyer. I don't know how it was done, but clearly the House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence was also looking for this information. And I think that the reason why is because of this. So again, the reason why the FISA warrant was even ever applied for is because of the hero, Admiral Mike Rogers, who saw what was going on underneath him with the NSA and government contractors abusing the 702 database. The Office of Inspector General found this probably during their investigation into the FISA warrant. This will definitely be a part of it. I am super excited to see whether or not I'm correct on this, because this is something that I broke almost a year ago now, and it's something that I've been really patiently waiting to see. So if you notice at the end of this video, we do not see the Justice Department declined prosecution. I also want to give you guys just a few tips on what to do with this report on Friday. I've had a lot of folks graciously reach out to me and offer to read pages or crowdsource this. And from my perspective, while that is the most amazing thing, it wouldn't be something that I would organize, only because I need to read every last sentence of this thing myself to be able to analyze it and put out any sort of comprehensive review for you folks. And I'm really looking forward to doing that. I want to caution everybody, not caution, because there's, a lot of, when the MYE exam came out, people were really up in arms about the conclusion page, which I thought was a little bit misguided, because that was when they found the evidence of bias for the first time in official writing of Peter Strzok and Lisa Page. And Peter Strzok was key to the MYE exam as well as the Russia collusion exam, which this is, or investigation. And Michael Horowitz was very hard on Peter Strzok about his political bias influencing the way he worked. So Maria Bartiromo says, people came out and said, well, this concludes nothing. This is a big nothing burger. And they read just the conclusion page. And I'm going to listen, I've read, so many of these, dozens. And there are details hiding in here that you guys do not, that you guys miss if you don't read the entire thing. So like if you just jump to conclusion, you're missing probably gosh knows how many stories that are inside, breaking news, bombshell stories that are inside these reports that you can, piece together using what you're given, which is why I did with my Rich Perry and John and all the volunteers that helped. I completed, the work here was amazing for Uncover DC, a timeline that took all of the dates out of the previous government releases and put them in a spreadsheet, so that now when the FISA report comes out, we can pull the dates from there, put them into that spreadsheet, and see an overall picture. Like, did 3 things happen on the same day from 3 different reports, and what does that mean, and things of that nature. So what I would caution or advise or just recommend, you can take it for what it's worth, is not to get this report on Friday and just skip through to the conclusion. It's almost like reading the last page of the book before you've even gotten through the introduction. I'm going to be reading the entire thing. Maria Bartiromo had Doug Collins on her show and did a thorough interview with him, about 9 minutes long. And at the end, I believe it was at the end. No, in the beginning of the interview, she says that it's as thick as a telephone book. Well, the mid-year exam report on Hillary Clinton's emails was about 570 pages. I would suspect that this report is going to be longer. We know that the Durham investigation has broadened its timeline until after the president was elected To me, that's not a sign that things are winding down. It's a sign that things are speeding up. And if you remember the thread that I put out several weeks ago, I think now, maybe 2 weeks ago, about the source that I had in DC that gave me a ton of information and then allowed me to put it out there for you regarding the State Department, Ukraine, Newland, etc. You'll see that a lot of that stuff's coming to fruition, and it'll probably make you feel a little bit better about the coming weeks. I'm saying the next 3 weeks or so are going to be absolutely insane, and I think everybody should buckle up and get ready. And and just to indicate, to answer a troll question, Trump Jr. did not meet with Russian spies at Trump Tower. So you're starting from a false premise. Okay, so that's it for this video. I was at the American Priority Conference. I did the Spygate panel. It was Tom Fitton, George Papadopoulos, Corey Lewandowski, and Ned Ryan. It was an amazing honor. I am getting to sleep early this week, so I'm all ready for Friday. I'm very excited to get into this report and get going on this. We've been waiting for this for years now, and it's about to happen. So if you guys appreciate the work I do and you'd like to become a patron, you can find me on Patreon and Subscribestar as well at Tracy Beanz with a Z. You can also, if you want to support my media organization, Uncover DC, you can go to uncoverdc.com, click on the support button, and send a little support to Uncover DC, who's growing very nicely. I'm very, very happy with things, how things are going. And I appreciate all of you guys. It's going to get a little crazy. You're going to see some flailing around and nutso behavior, but just stay calm and measured, take deep breaths, and understand that it's just the beginning of the end for these people who thought that they would be able to get away with one of the most horrific crimes against our country that we have seen maybe ever. I will talk to you guys very, very soon. Have a good one.